Good evening. Chag Sameach, a happy Sukkot to one and all. As we have mentioned in our previous sermon, Sukkot is the Zman Simchatenu, the holiday of ultimate joy. And we also mentioned that one cannot be fully joyful when he is alone. So by dint of simple common sense, the joy that we seek can only be achieved with the participation of guests, of friends. I would like to further explore this theme. The Holy Zohar teaches us that each sukkah is graced with the participation of 7 special guests, what they call shepherds. They are, of course, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aharon, Yosef, and finally King David. From a philosophical perspective, that means that our Sukkot must be infused with the values which our Holy Fathers represented. But then the Zohar continues and makes another amazing claim. These sacred guests will only remain in our sukkah if they are also present actual human guests as well. And preferably, these should be poor guests, which can be understood either literally financially poor, or perhaps what it means is they are spiritually poor. They grew up in an environment in which they failed to grasp the importance of the Sukkot holiday in their lives. So we need to have these guests. So important is the mitzvah of Hachnasat Orchim, of entertaining guests in our sukkah, that if none are present, Avraham Avinu stands up and angrily tells his comrades, "We are not wanted here. Let's get up and leave." We need to understand more fully, what does that actually mean? What is the Zohar trying to tell us? What is the deeper philosophical intent which lies behind this term of Ushpizin, the 7 guests? Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, David, their spirit, their ideals, their holiness must reside in our homes throughout the year and in our educational institutions. Our ultimate goal must be to create nefashos, or souls for the Jewish people, to plant Yiddishkeit in the hearts of our children, as well as influence those Jews who, perhaps through no fault of their own, were never exposed to authentic Yiddishkeit. Our examples showing us the way are our forefathers, as well as our foremothers of generations past, going all the way back to the founders of Judaism. We must seek out lost Jews, just like our father Abraham did in his generation. Invite them to our homes, invite them to a Shabbos meal. The celebration of Shabbos is the most effective way of bringing Jews closer to Yiddishkeit. And I might add, it is also an effective way for people to be interested in converting to Judaism. We must be willing to be moser nefesh, literally to make sacrifices Hopefully never the ultimate, but there are many sacrifices on a day-to-day basis which we make for our Yiddishkeit. And who is the ultimate symbol of sacrifice? Our father Isaac. We must develop the holiness of Yaakov, who was called Ish Tam, a complete man, a Yoshev Ohalim, someone who dedicated his life to the study of Torah. We must work to try to spread Torah and her values, just like Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher Moshe. We should try to make peace amongst our friends and to resolve conflicts if they arise, just like our ancestor Aharon HaKohen did. We must not be afraid to practice our Yiddishkeit and live our Judaism in a non-Jewish environment, just like our ancestor Yosef the righteous. Finally, we must develop courage and educate ourselves to the poetry of Jewish literature, just like King David, the author of the Psalms. This year our Sukkos, our booths, our sukkahs, if we are fortunate enough to have them, are empty of guests because of the terrible scourge of the coronavirus. Nevertheless, I would like to imagine that our 7 Ushpizin are not leaving angrily, but rather have joined us for our observance of the holiday. And they understand that we are presently experiencing an emergency situation. That's why we can't have guests in our sukkah. But who knows? Perhaps that's the point of this unusual year, that this is a learning moment for all of us. Hopefully, we have fulfilled many of the previously mentioned goals in years past. But we must never forget that life does not allow us to rest on our laurels, that we must strive ever more intently and forcefully. Perhaps that is what the lesson is. God expects even more of us. It's interesting that following Sukkot, we immediately enter the holiday of Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah. Many people may not be aware of the fact that our beloved Ushpizin do not just disappear after Sukkot. Rather, and only if we deserve it, truly, they join us once again for the joyous dancing with the Torah on Simchat Torah. Our custom is to invite the Ushpizin to dance with us as we make our 7 circuits around the bima, as if to say, now, there is no anger or fear. We have truly fulfilled our obligations. So, Holy Ushpizin, now, please join us in absolute celebration and dance with us as we dance that eternal dance of Yiddishkeit, which we have inculcated in ourselves and which we continue your values on to the next generation and the many generations that will follow us, just as you, our beloved Ushpizin, have taught us to do. Yes, this year we may not be able to enter the synagogue, and if we dance, it will only be with ourselves and our families. But next year, God willing, Lishana Haba'ah, we will dance, all of us, with our Ushpizin in a rebuilt Jerusalem and a refurbished temple. May it come speedily in our days. Amen ve'amen.